The car tips forward before Aretha Williams understands what's happening. 1 second, she's squinting through rain-blurred windshield at what should be Cypress Street. The next, her tires are skating across flooded asphalt, orange construction cones scattering like dominoes, and the barrier that was supposed to be there, the one that should have stopped her, simply isn't. Her stomach drops. The steering wheel spins uselessly under her palms. Then, impact. Not collision, submersion. Water swallows the hood in one hungry gulp, and the car pitches nose first into what used to be a drainage channel before tonight's storm transformed it into something else entirely. Something that doesn't let go. Cold water geysers through the door seams. Aretha's fingers fly to the handle, jammed, electronic locks dead. She slams her palm against the window button. Nothing. The dashboard lights flicker once and die, leaving only the sick glow of her phone screen floating in rising water. Her chest tightens. Water climbs past her ankles, past her knees. This isn't happening. This can't be. The water reaches her ribs and her brain finally catches up to her body. You're going to die here. Wrong turn, wrong night. Stupidest possible end. She grabs her phone with shaking hands. The screen shows Marcus calling, her boss, probably wondering why she missed the last delivery window. She doesn't answer. Can't. Her lungs are screaming and the air pocket is shrinking and glass explodes inward in a shower of diamonds. A hand punches through the shattered driver's window, steady and certain, followed by a voice she's never heard. Take my hand. Right now. Aretha doesn't think. Doesn't process. Just grabs. Fingers lock around her wrist. Strong, sure, pulling with enough force to drag her through the jagged window frame. Water tries to keep her. The seatbelt catches. The hand doesn't let go. One sharp yank, and she's free, gasping against rain that tastes like rust and resurrection. Her knees buckle the second her feet touch concrete. Someone catches her before she hits the ground. Arms circle her shoulders, holding her upright while she coughs water she didn't know was inside her lungs. Breathe, the voice says. Male, close, impossibly calm. I've got you. Just breathe. She drags in air that burns all the way down and looks up into the face of a stranger. Dark eyes sharp with focus. Black hair plastered to his forehead. Work jacket soaked through. Blood runs down his knuckles from where he punched through her window. He doesn't look like a hero from a movie. He looks like someone who saw a problem and solved it. Who? Her voice comes out shredded. Ethan, he says simply, scanning her face like he's checking a list. And you need medical attention. Behind them, her car's taillights sink beneath black water and disappear completely. 5 more seconds. That's all it would have taken. But this stranger, Ethan, saw her going under, and he didn't hesitate. If you've ever wondered who'd break the glass when you're drowning, hit subscribe. We're just getting started. And you won't want to miss what happens when the person who saves your life refuses to disappear. Aretha wakes to silence so complete it feels wrong. No alarm. No rain hammering the window. Just pale morning light filtering through curtains she doesn't remember closing, and the steady, distant hum of her refrigerator. Her body catalogs damage before her brain catches up. Bruised ribs from the seatbelt, raw throat from coughing, and a bandage wrapped around her left palm she doesn't remember getting. She sits up slowly. Her apartment looks exactly the same. Coffee mug in the sink, work blazer draped over the chair, keys on the counter. Except the keys aren't hers. They belong to a car currently resting at the bottom of a drainage channel. Her phone sits on the nightstand, screen cracked but functional. 17 missed calls, 12 texts. Most from Simone, escalating from, "Where are you?" to, "Aretha, answer me or I'm calling hospitals." 3 from Marcus. None of them know yet. The hospital let her go at 2 a.m. with instructions to rest and follow up with your doctor. She scrolls further and stops. One saved contact she doesn't recognize. Ethan Park, guy from last night. Memory floods back in fragments. Paramedics wrapping a blanket around her shoulders. Someone giving her phone to a man in a soaked jacket. His voice saying, "I'll make sure she gets home safe." She must have been too rattled to protest. Her thumb hovers over his name. What do you even say to someone who pulled you from a sinking car? Thanks for the rescue. See you never? She locks the phone and sets it down. 10 seconds later, it buzzes. Unknown. Number. You okay? No pressure, just checking. She stares at the message. Her first instinct is to type, "I'm fine." The automatic response she's deployed 1,000 times, but her fingers freeze over the keyboard. She deletes the draft. Tries again. Deletes it. Finally, she sends, "I don't know yet." 3 dots appear immediately. Then, "Fair answer. Let me know if you need anything." She doesn't reply. Doesn't know how. Instead, she pulls herself out of bed, tests her legs, and walks to the window. Outside, the sky is that rinsed clean blue that comes after storms. Puddles reflect sunlight. Everything looks normal. But when she closes her eyes, she's back underwater, lungs burning, watching her life shrink to the size of a drowning car. Marcus calls while Aretha is on hold with her insurance company for the 3rd time in 2 days. "Williams?" His voice crackles through her phone, impatient and familiar. "You coming in today or what?" She switches ears, wedging the phone against her shoulder, while the hold music loops for the 40th time. "I'm handling the car situation. Should be there by noon." "Good. Because Rivera's been covering your routes and he's not you. Client from the Northside account called twice asking where you were." A pause. "You all right?" Simone mentioned something about an accident. Aretha closes her eyes. Of course, Simone told him. Her sister works in the same building, different department, and treats discretion like a suggestion. "I'm fine. Just some car trouble." Car trouble. Marcus doesn't sound convinced, but he also doesn't push. "Well, handle it fast. We've got the quarterly audit coming up, and I need my best coordinator locked in." The call ends before she can respond. The hold music cuts off a second later, replaced by a bored claims adjuster asking her to describe the incident. "I took a wrong turn during the storm," Aretha hears herself say, voice flat and efficient. "Construction barriers were down. The car went into a drainage channel." "Were you injured?" "Minor bruising. I'm fine." "Was anyone else involved?" Her mind flashes to Ethan's bloodied knuckles, the calm authority in his voice when he said, "Breathe." "No. Just me." The adjuster makes a non-committal sound. "We'll send an inspector to assess the vehicle once it's recovered. In the meantime, we can arrange a rental." Aretha agrees to the terms, recites her information, and hangs up feeling like she just lied on an official document. No one else involved. Technically true. Ethan wasn't involved in the accident. He was involved in the aftermath, the part where she didn't die. She looks at her phone. No new messages. She could text him. Should. Probably. At minimum, a thank you for not leaving her collapsed on the sidewalk at midnight. Instead, she opens a new tab and searches, "How long can someone survive in a submerged car?" The results are clinical and horrifying. 2 to 3 minutes in cold water, depending on shock response and air pocket size. She remembers the water at her chest, her ribs, her throat. How long had she been under before Ethan's fist came through the glass? Long enough. She closes the browser and doesn't let herself think about it for the rest of the morning. The rental car arrives at noon, dropped off by a teenager who looks barely old enough to drive it. Aretha signs the paperwork, takes the keys, and stares at the vehicle, a bland silver sedan identical to 1,000 others. Safe. Boring. Exactly what she needs. She gets in, adjusts the seat, checks the mirrors. Her hands rest on the steering wheel, and her pulse kicks up for no reason at all. It's just a car. You've driven 1,000,000 times. Turn the key and go. She turns the key. The engine hums to life. Everything is fine. She shifts into drive, eases her foot off the brake, and makes it exactly 6 feet before her vision tunnels, and her breath catches in her throat like a fist. She slams the brake. The car jerks to a stop in the middle of the parking lot. Her hands are shaking. Her chest is tight. The windshield is clear, no rain, broad daylight, and she can't breathe. She shuts off the engine and sits there, gripping the wheel so hard her knuckles ache, telling herself this is ridiculous. It's a car. She's fine. 5 minutes pass. She tries again. Same result. 6 feet, and her body stages a revolt. On the 3rd attempt, she gives up, gets out, and slams the door harder than necessary. Her phone buzzes in her pocket. Simone. Simone. Lunch? I'm downstairs. Aretha looks at the car. Looks at her phone. Texts back. Can't. Dealing with something. Simone. You've been dealing with something for 2 days. I'm coming up. Before Aretha can argue, she spots her sister pushing through the lobby doors, box braids swinging, expression set to maximum concern. You look awful, Simone says by way of greeting. Good morning to you too. Simone's eyes flick to the rental car, then back to Aretha. That the replacement? Yeah. So why are you standing out here instead of driving to work? Aretha opens her mouth, closes it. She's saved from answering by her phone buzzing again. This time, an unknown number she recognizes by now. Ethan. Need a ride? She blinks at the screen. How would he even? Ethan. Saw you from across the lot. I'm working on the HVAC system in your building. Offer stands if you need it. No strings. Aretha looks up, scanning the parking lot. There, a work van 2 rows over, logo on the side, and Ethan leaning against the driver's door with a takeout coffee in hand. He raises it slightly in acknowledgement. Not smug. Not pitying. Just there. Simone follows her gaze. Who's that? No one. He's texting you and watching you not drive. That's not no one. Simone's voice shifts into interrogation mode. Aretha, who is he? Aretha doesn't answer. Instead, she walks toward the van, Simone trailing behind her like a persistent shadow. Ethan straightens when they approach. Up close, in daylight, he looks less like the adrenaline-fueled rescuer from 2 nights ago, and more like an ordinary man who works with his hands. Faded jeans, company jacket, the kind of quiet competence that doesn't demand attention. Hi, Aretha says, suddenly unsure what comes next. Hi. He glances at Simone, then back to Aretha. Bad time? No, She stops. Simone is staring at her with open curiosity. Ethan is waiting patiently. The rental car sits behind them, keys still in her pocket, and the truth is lodged in her throat like broken glass. I can't drive it, she says finally, the words scraping out. I got in, started it, and I couldn't. Simone's expression shifts from confusion to alarm. Wait, what? Why? Ethan doesn't look surprised. He just nods once like this makes perfect sense. You need to get to work? Yeah. I'll take you. He opens the passenger door of the van without waiting for agreement. It's on my way. Simone steps between them, protective instinct flaring. Hold on. Aretha, who is this guy? Aretha meets her sister's eyes and realizes she's going to have to say it out loud. He's the one who pulled me out of the car. Simone goes very still. What car? The one that ended up in the water Sunday night. Aretha's voice stays level through sheer force of will. I took a wrong turn. Went into a construction zone. The car sank. He got me out. The silence that follows is heavy enough to drown in. Simone's face cycles through shock, horror, and fury in rapid succession. You almost drowned, and you didn't tell me. I'm telling you now. 2 days later. Aretha, what the... I didn't want you to worry. Aretha cuts in, the familiar script deploying automatically. I'm fine. It's handled. You literally just said you can't drive. Ethan clears his throat gently. I'm going to step back and let you two. No. Simone rounds on him, eyes blazing, You saved my sister's life, and she didn't even tell her family. So yeah, I have questions. Starting with, how bad was it? Ethan meets her gaze steadily. Bad enough that I'm glad I was there. And now you're just... what? Driving her around? If she needs it. His tone doesn't shift. Calm, factual, with no trace of defensiveness. No obligation. I offered. Simone looks between them, clearly trying to process. Finally, she focuses on Aretha. We're talking about this later, for real. Fine. I mean it. I know. Aretha turns to Ethan. If the offer's still open, I could use that ride. He gestures to the van. Let's go. Aretha climbs in, acutely aware of Simone watching them pull away, and realizes with sinking certainty the lie that she's fine just cracked wide open. The van smells like coffee and machine oil. Ethan drives with the easy confidence of someone who spends half his life behind the wheel, one hand on the steering wheel, the other resting on the gear shift, eyes scanning traffic without apparent effort. Aretha sits rigid in the passenger seat, hyper-aware of every turn, every stoplight, every drop of condensation sliding down the windshield. You can adjust the heat if you want, Ethan says after 2 silent blocks. I'm fine. He doesn't respond to that, just takes a left onto Marshall Avenue with the kind of smooth deceleration that suggests he knows exactly what he's doing, which, she supposes, he does. You don't save someone from a submerged car by accident. You do it because you're the kind of person who knows how to break safety glass and pull dead weight through a window frame without hesitation. How's your hand? Aretha asks, nodding toward his knuckles. The cuts from Sunday night are healing, thin red lines across his skin. Fine. Wasn't deep. He flexes his fingers briefly. How are your ribs? Sore, but functional. That's something. They lapse back into silence. Aretha watches the city scroll past. Familiar streets, morning commuters, a world that kept spinning while she nearly drowned in it. The normalcy feels surreal. Can I ask you something? Ethan's voice is careful, the way you'd handle a conversation with someone standing on a ledge. Depends on the question. Were you scared to get in my van just now? The honesty of it catches her off guard. She considers lying, then decides he's earned better. A little. Not of you. Of this. She gestures vaguely at the windshield. Being in a vehicle I'm not controlling. Makes sense. He signals a lane change, smooth and predictable. For what it's worth, I drive for a living. 12 years, no accidents. Is that supposed to be reassuring? Statistically, yes. The corner of his mouth twitches. Not quite a smile, but close. Also, I'm not planning to take any wrong turns into drainage channels. Despite herself, Aretha almost laughs. It comes out as a sharp exhale that might be relief or hysteria. Too soon. Probably. He pulls into the logistics company parking lot and shifts into park. Here we are. Delivered safely as promised. Aretha reaches for the door handle, then stops. Thank you. For this. And for... She can't finish the sentence. For saving my life. Sounds melodramatic. For not letting me drown. Sounds worse. You don't have to thank me every time, Ethan says quietly. I'm just glad I was there. She nods, climbs out, and makes it halfway to the building before her phone buzzes. Ethan, if you need a ride home, let me know. I'll be in the area until 6. She stares at the message, thumb hovering over the keyboard. Accepting once was pragmatic. Accepting twice feels like establishing a pattern, like admitting she needs him. But the alternative is getting back in the rental car and trying again to drive herself, an experiment that ended in shaking hands and tunnel vision. She types, "What time?" His response is immediate, "Whenever you're ready." Aretha pockets her phone and walks into work, wondering when exactly she started depending on a stranger who broke glass to reach her. Marcus is waiting by her desk when Aretha arrives, coffee in hand, reading glasses perched on his nose while he scans a printout. "Williams, you're late." 15 minutes. She drops her bag on the chair and logs into her computer with practiced efficiency. What's the crisis? Northside client is threatening to pull their contract if we don't guarantee same-day turnaround for the next month. Rivera told them maybe. I need you to tell them yes and make it happen. Aretha pulls up the account, already running calculations in her head. Driver availability, route optimization, warehouse capacity. It's tight, but doable if she juggles 3 other accounts and works through lunch for the next 2 weeks. I can make it work, she says. Good. Because I told them you would. Marcus sets the printout on her desk, a revised delivery schedule with her name highlighted in yellow across 24 time slots. Also, Henderson called in sick, so you're covering his routes today too. She looks at the schedule, back at Marcus. That's 16 stops across 3 zones. Like I said, you're my best coordinator. He's already walking away. Crisis delegated, problem solved. Aretha stares at the schedule and feels the weight of it settle on her shoulders like wet concrete. She's been back 2 days, and already the machine expects her to operate at full capacity. No adjustment period, no acknowledgement that Sunday night happened. Just the unspoken expectation that she's fine because she showed up. Her phone buzzes. Simone. Simone. Lunch, 12:30. Don't even think about saying no. Aretha considers arguing, then realizes she doesn't have the energy. She confirms and dives into the schedule, rearranging routes and coordinating drivers with the mechanical precision that made her indispensable in the first place. By noon, she's successfully optimized Henderson's routes and placated the Northside client. By 12:15, her vision is starting to blur from screen time, and her ribs ache from sitting too still for too long. She's printing the final schedule when the lights flicker. Once, twice, then steady. A maintenance worker appears in the doorway, tool bag in hand, radio clipped to his belt, dark eyes scanning the room until they land on her. Ethan. He doesn't approach, just nods once, a silent check-in that somehow asks, "You okay?" Without saying a word, Aretha nods back. The exchange lasts maybe 3 seconds before he moves on to inspect the electrical panel in the hallway, but it leaves her unsettled in a way she can't name. He's here, working in her building, close enough to offer rides and silent reassurance, and she doesn't know what to do with that. "Who's that?" Rivera asks from the desk next to hers, following her gaze. "Maintenance. He keeps looking over here. He's checking the lights." Rivera grins. "Sure, the lights." Before Aretha can respond, Simone appears, purse slung over her shoulder, expression set to, "We're having this conversation now." "Come on," Simone says. "Cafeteria. Move." Aretha logs out and follows, acutely aware that Ethan is still working 20 feet away and probably heard every word. The cafeteria is half empty, midday lull stretching between breakfast rush and afternoon coffee runs. Simone steers them to a corner table, sets down 2 pre-made salads neither of them wanted, and folds her arms. "Talk." Aretha stabs a piece of lettuce. "About?" "Don't." Simone's voice sharpens. "You almost died and didn't tell me. So now you're going to walk me through exactly what happened Sunday night, and you're going to do it without saying I'm fine. Once." Aretha sets down her fork. The truth is lodged behind her teeth, heavy and jagged. "I took a wrong turn in the storm. The GPS glitched and I ended up in a construction zone. The barriers were down. I didn't see the drop-off until I was already going over. And the car just sank? Fast. The water came in through the seals and the doors wouldn't open. Electronic locks failed." The words come out flat, clinical, the only way she can say them without feeling it. "I tried the window. Nothing. The water kept rising." Simone's face has gone pale. "How high?" "To my chest. Maybe higher." Aretha forces herself to meet her sister's eyes. "I thought that was it. Wrong turn, wrong night. Stupidest way to die. But you didn't. Because Ethan smashed through the window and pulled me out." She picks up her fork again, needing something to do with her hands. "I don't know how he saw me. It was dark, pouring rain, and the car was already halfway under. But he saw me, and he didn't hesitate. Simone is quiet for a long moment. When she speaks, her voice is careful. And now he's driving you to work. I can't get in the rental car without having a panic attack. Have you seen a doctor, like a therapist? I'm handling it. Aretha, I'll figure it out. The edge in Aretha's voice surprises them both. She softens it barely. I just need time. Simone reaches across the table and grabs her hand. You scared the hell out of me when I found out. Don't do that again. Wasn't planning to. I'm serious. If something happens, you tell me. Immediately. Not 2 days later when a stranger is driving you around. He's not a stranger. The words come out automatic, defensive. He's what? Simone's expression shifts from worried to curious. Because from where I'm sitting, you've known him for 48 hours and you're already letting him give you rides and show up at your job. Aretha pulls her hand back. It's not like that. Then what is it like? She doesn't have an answer. What do you call someone who saved your life and then refused to disappear? What box do you put that in? Her phone buzzes before she has to respond. Marcus. Northside client wants a call in 10. Be ready. She shows Simone the screen. I have to go. We're not done talking about this. I know. Aretha stands, grabbing her untouched salad. But I really do have to go. She makes it back to her desk with 3 minutes to spare, dials the client, and spends the next 20 minutes promising miracles she'll have to break herself to deliver. When she finally hangs up, her hands are shaking. She doesn't let herself think about why. The storm rolls in at 4:47 p.m. Aretha sees it coming. Dark clouds stacking on the western horizon like a bruise spreading across the sky. The office windows rattle with the first gust of wind, and someone 2 desks over groans about having to drive home in it. She watches the clouds and feels her pulse start to climb. It's just rain. You're inside. You're safe. The first drops hit the windows at 5:02. Light, almost tentative. By 5:15, it's a downpour, the kind that turns windshields into waterfalls and streets into rivers. Aretha stares at her screen, trying to focus on the logistics report she's supposed to finish before she leaves, but the sound of rain on the roof is suddenly the loudest thing in the world. Her chest tightens. Her breathing goes shallow. You good? Rivera asks, glancing over. Fine. The word comes out automatically, too fast. She forces her eyes back to the report. The numbers blur. The rain gets louder. Somewhere in the back of her mind, water is rising and doors won't open, and she stands abruptly. I need some air. Rivera frowns. It's pouring. I know. She's already moving, grabbing her bag, heading for the stairwell because the elevator feels too small, too enclosed, too much like being trapped. The stairwell is concrete and cold and blessedly quiet. She sits on the 3rd floor landing, back against the wall, and focuses on breathing the way the ER nurse taught her. 4 counts in, hold, 6 counts out. It doesn't work. The rain is still audible through the walls, and her body doesn't care that she's safe. Her body remembers water and locked doors and running out of air. Footsteps echo from below, steady, unhurried. She doesn't look up. Aretha. Ethan's voice. Of course it is. She keeps her eyes closed. How did you find me? Saw you bolt. Figured you might need... He trails off, and she hears him sit down on the step below hers. Close, but not crowding. This. I don't need anything. The lie sounds weak even to her. Okay. He doesn't argue, doesn't try to fix it. Just sits there while the rain hammers the building, and her lungs remember how to work. After a minute, he speaks again. Quiet, matter of fact. My brother died during a storm like this. I was 3 blocks away, finishing a job. He overdosed, and by the time I got the call, he'd already choked. Paramedics said 10 minutes earlier, and they could have saved him. Aretha opens her eyes. Ethan is staring at the opposite wall, expression unreadable. I don't tell people that, he continues, because then they look at me like I'm broken, and I'm not. I just can't unhear rain without thinking about that call, without calculating how fast I could have driven if I'd left 5 minutes earlier. She understands what he's doing, offering his own wound so hers doesn't feel so isolating. It works. I can't stop seeing the water, she says quietly. Every time it rains, every time I close my eyes, I'm back in that car, and the doors won't open and I'm running out of air. That's normal, after something like that. It doesn't feel normal. It feels like I'm breaking. Maybe a little, but you're still here. That counts for something. He glances at her, and his eyes are kind in a way that makes her throat tight. You don't have to be fine yet. The permission in those words, simple, undemanding, cracks something inside her. She presses her palms against her eyes and breathes through the ache. They sit in the stairwell for 10 more minutes, while the storm rages outside. When Aretha finally stands, her legs are steady. Her heartbeat is almost normal. Thank you, she says. For sitting in a stairwell? For not making me explain. Ethan stands too, shouldering his tool bag. For what it's worth, I think you're handling this better than you think you are. I had a panic attack because it rained. And you're still here, still going to work, still trying. He meets her eyes. That's not breaking. That's fighting. She wants to believe him. Almost does. They walk back to the main floor together, and when Ethan offers her a ride home, rain still pouring, sky dark as midnight, she accepts without hesitation. Because maybe fighting looks like letting someone else drive when you can't. The diner is nearly empty at 10:47 p.m. Just a handful of late-shift workers and insomniacs nursing coffee under fluorescent lights that bleach everything pale and stark. Aretha sits across from Ethan in a cracked vinyl booth, cradling a mug she hasn't touched while he methodically works through a plate of fries. She's not sure how they ended up here. 1 minute he was dropping her off at her apartment, the next she was asking if he'd eaten, and now they're in a 24-hour diner on the edge of the warehouse district talking about things she hasn't said out loud to anyone. I haven't driven in the rain since it happened, she admits, watching steam rise from her mug. I tried this morning. Got in the rental, made it 6 feet, and froze. That's further than yesterday, Ethan points out. Yesterday I didn't even try. So you're making progress. He dips a fry in ketchup with the focus of someone who's learned to find calm in small, methodical actions. Trauma doesn't heal in a straight line. You sound like a therapist. I sound like someone who spent 2 years in therapy after my brother died. He says it plainly, without drama. Took me 6 months before I could take a call without my chest tightening. Another year before I stopped checking my phone every 5 minutes to make sure I didn't miss something important. Aretha traces the rim of her mug. Does it get easier? Different. You learn to carry it without it carrying you. He leans back, studying her. You told anyone else? About the panic attacks? No, just you. Not Simone? She'd worry. She already thinks I take on too much. Aretha's laugh is short, humorless. And she's right. But if I admit that, if I slow down or ask for help, then I'm not. Not what? Not the person they need me to be. The truth slips out before she can stop it. Simone leans on me. My boss depends on me. If I start falling apart, what does that make me? Human, Ethan says simply. She shakes her head. You don't understand. I built my whole life on being the one who doesn't break. The reliable one. The one who has her shit together. If I lose that, you don't lose anything. You just stop pretending. He reaches across the table, not touching her, but close. You almost died, Aretha. You're allowed to not be fine. The words hit harder than they should. She looks down at her hands, the bandage on her palm from broken glass, the faint bruising on her wrists from the seatbelt. I can't fall apart, she says quietly. Not now. Maybe not ever. Then don't. but maybe stop pretending it didn't happen. Ethan's voice is gentle but firm. Because the thing about pushing through? Eventually, you run out of places to push. She meets his eyes, and for the first time since Sunday night, she lets herself say the thing that's been clawing at her since she woke up that first morning. I'm scared. The confession comes out raw. I'm scared I'll never be able to drive in the rain again. I'm scared I'll have a panic attack in front of Marcus and lose my job. I'm scared that the person I was before Sunday night is gone, and I don't know who I am without her. Ethan doesn't rush to reassure her. Doesn't tell her it'll be okay, or that she's stronger than she thinks. He just nods, like he's been exactly where she is. Yeah, he says. That tracks. It's the honesty, the lack of empty comfort, that finally lets her breathe. They sit in that diner until midnight, talking about nothing and everything. Ethan tells her about his mother's impossible expectations, the weight of being the surviving son, the way guilt can masquerade as responsibility. Aretha tells him about building a life where asking for help feels like failure, where independence became identity. When Ethan finally drives her home, the rain has stopped. The streets are quiet, and for the first time in days, Aretha doesn't feel like she's drowning. 3 days later, Aretha notices the keychain. She's waiting in Ethan's van again. 4th time this week, a pattern they've both stopped commenting on, when she spots it dangling from his ignition. A small red handle attached to a metal spike. What's that? She asks when he climbs in, coffee in hand. He follows her gaze. Emergency glass breaker, spring-loaded punch, seatbelt cutter on the other end. Is that what you used? To get me out? Yeah. He starts the engine, pulling out of the parking lot with his usual calm efficiency. I keep one on my keys, another in the glove box. Used to keep one in my tool bag, but I gave that one away. To who? Someone who needed it more than I did. He doesn't elaborate, and Aretha doesn't push. They drive in comfortable silence for a few blocks before she asks the question that's been sitting on her tongue since the diner. Why do you carry it? The glass breaker. Ethan's jaw tightens almost imperceptibly. After my brother died, I became hypervigilant. About being prepared. About not being too late again. He taps the steering wheel with his thumb. Small, rhythmic, self-soothing. It's probably overkill. Most people go their whole lives without needing one, but you did, Aretha finishes. I did. He glances at her. And now you know why I'm the guy with emergency tools on his keychain. She thinks about that for the rest of the drive, the weight of carrying preparation like armor, the way trauma rewrites what feels necessary. When they reach her building, she doesn't get out right away. Can I ask you something? She says. Sure. Why are you doing this? The rides, the check-ins, showing up when I'm spiraling. She forces herself to meet his eyes. You saved my life. You don't owe me anything after that. Ethan is quiet for a moment, hands still on the wheel, gaze fixed on something in the middle distance. When I pulled you out of that car, you were conscious, fighting, and the first thing you did when you could breathe was apologize, like you were inconveniencing me by nearly drowning. I don't remember that. I do. He looks at her now, expression serious. And I thought, this person needs someone to show up, not because she's weak, because she's so used to being strong alone that she forgot how to let anyone help. The accuracy of it lands like a punch. So, yeah, he continues, I'm showing up. Not because I think you're broken, because I know what it's like to carry something heavy by yourself until it crushes you. And I don't want that to happen to you. Aretha doesn't trust herself to speak. She nods once, climbs out, and makes it halfway to the building before she realizes Ethan Park sees her in a way no one else does. And that's more terrifying than the water ever was. The invitation comes via text on a Thursday afternoon. Ethan, my mother wants to meet you. Dinner Sunday. No pressure if you'd rather not. Aretha stares at the message. Meeting the mother of the man who saved her life. The man who now drives her to work and sits with her during panic attacks feels like crossing a line she can't uncross. She types, "Why does she want to meet me?" Ethan. I mentioned you. She has opinions about most things. You're now one of them. Aretha. Should I be worried? Ethan. Probably, but I'll be there. Against her better judgment, Aretha agrees. Sunday arrives too fast. Ethan picks her up at 5, and she spends the entire drive wondering what you wear to meet the mother of your... what? Friend? Savior? She settled on a simple navy dress and small gold earrings, aiming for respectful but not trying too hard. Relax, Ethan says, catching her death grip on her purse. She's intense, but she's not cruel. That's not reassuring. It's honest. Mrs. Park's house is modest and immaculate, hardwood floors gleaming, every surface free of clutter, the faint smell of something savory drifting from the kitchen. She greets them at the door, a small woman with silver-streaked hair pulled into a neat bun and eyes that assess Aretha in 3 seconds flat. You're the one he pulled from the water, Mrs. Park says by way of introduction. Not a question. Yes, ma'am. I'm Aretha Williams. She extends her hand. Mrs. Park takes it briefly, grip firm but impersonal. Come in. Dinner is almost ready. The meal is beautifully prepared. Banchan spread across the table, perfectly steamed rice, braised short ribs that fall off the bone. Aretha compliments the food sincerely. Mrs. Park nods unsurprised and begins the interrogation disguised as polite conversation. Ethan says you work in logistics. Yes. I coordinate shipping routes for a distribution company. Stable job? Very. Family? One younger sister. Mrs. Park's gaze sharpens. And your parents? They passed away when I was 24. Car accident. Aretha keeps her voice even. She's learned not to flinch when delivering this information. I see. A pause. So you've been responsible for your sister since then. We've been responsible for each other. Mrs. Park makes a small sound, approval or judgment, Aretha can't tell. Ethan clears his throat. Mom, I'm simply getting to know your friend. Mrs. Park smiles, but it doesn't reach her eyes. She switches topics. Do you plan to stay in logistics, or do you have other ambitions? I'm good at what I do. I don't need other ambitions. Practical. Mrs. Park sips her water. Ethan is also practical. Too practical sometimes. He forgets to think about his own future. Ethan sets down his chopsticks. Mom, we talked about this. Did we? I don't recall agreeing to stop caring about your happiness. She turns back to Aretha, switching to Korean mid-sentence. Smooth, deliberate exclusion. Aretha doesn't speak Korean. She understands exactly what's happening. The conversation continues for 30 seconds. Mrs. Park speaking, Ethan responding in clipped tones, his expression growing tighter. Finally, Aretha sets down her own chopsticks. Thank you for the meal, Mrs. Park. It was delicious. She stands. But I won't sit through a language I don't speak while you decide whether I'm good enough for your son. Mrs. Park's eyes widen, surprise flickering across her face. I was simply discussing me in front of me, in a way I couldn't respond to. Aretha keeps her voice respectful but firm. I understand you're protective of Ethan, but I'm not here to audition for your approval. I'm here because he invited me, and I respect him enough to show up. She reaches for her purse. Ethan stands immediately. I'm sorry, he says, looking at his mother. I thought you'd be able to handle this with basic courtesy. I was wrong. Ethan, she nearly died. I pulled her out, and now she's someone I care about. His voice is quiet, but absolute. That's not up for debate. He follows Aretha to the door. Behind them, Mrs. Park calls out in Korean, sharp, demanding. Ethan responds in English, still looking at Aretha. No, Mom. She's not my responsibility. She's my choice. They leave. The car ride is silent for the first 10 minutes. Finally, Aretha speaks. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have. Don't. Ethan's voice is firm. You handled that with more grace than I would have. My mother, she lost one son. She's terrified of losing another, but that doesn't give her the right to treat you like you're not good enough. She thinks I'm taking advantage, that you're stuck in some savior complex. Are you? Aretha looks at him. I don't know. Maybe. Are you? I don't know either. He exhales. But I know I didn't start showing up because I felt obligated. I show up because I want to. She believes him. That's the terrifying part. When he drops her off, she doesn't get out right away. Your mother isn't wrong, you know, about me needing you too much. You don't need me. You let me help. There's a difference. Is there? Yeah. He meets her eyes. One is dependence. The other is trust. Aretha doesn't have an answer for that. She says goodnight and goes inside, feeling the weight of what's building between them. Something fragile and necessary, and completely outside her control. Simone's call comes at 8:15 p.m. on a Tuesday. I need to tell you something, her sister says, voice tight with nerves. Aretha sets down the report she's been staring at for the last hour. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. It's... A pause. I'm pregnant. The world tilts sideways. What? 12 weeks. I found out last month, but I was waiting to make sure everything was... stable. Simone's words come faster now. I know this is bad timing. I know you're dealing with your own stuff. But I couldn't keep it from you anymore. Aretha's brain struggles to process. Simone. Pregnant. Her little sister who still calls her when the car makes a weird noise, who depends on Aretha to remember their mother's birthday, who needs... I'm happy for you, Aretha hears herself say. The words sound hollow. Are you? Because you sound like I just told you I'm dying. I'm just surprised. She forces brightness into her tone. This is good news. You'll be amazing. I'm terrified, Simone admits. I have no idea what I'm doing, and I need... She stops. I need you. Like, really need you. I need the sister who always knows what to do. The weight of it crashes down. Simone needs her. Marcus needs her. The Northside client needs guaranteed turnarounds. And Aretha is holding herself together with duct tape and sheer willpower, one rainstorm away from complete collapse. I'm here, she says. Because what else can she say? Whatever you need. They talk for another 20 minutes. Due date, doctor appointments, Simone's fears about becoming a mother. Aretha makes the right sounds, asks the right questions, and when the call ends, she sits in her apartment staring at the wall. Her sister is pregnant. Her sister needs her to be strong, capable, reliable. The version of herself who doesn't flinch at rain or freeze behind the wheel or have panic attacks in stairwells. Aretha looks at her phone, at the rental car keys sitting on the counter, at the window where light drizzle has just started to fall. I need to be able to do this. I need to get back to normal. She grabs the keys. The parking lot is slick and dark, rain falling in a steady, miserable rhythm. Aretha approaches the rental car like it's an adversary. She gets in, adjusts the seat, checks the mirrors, turns the key. The engine starts. Rain patters on the windshield. She puts the car in drive. Her hands start shaking. Her chest tightens. The rain sounds like drumming, like water rising, like doors that won't open. She makes it 15 feet before her vision tunnels. She slams the brake. The car jerks to a stop. And something inside her breaks. She fumbles for her phone with trembling fingers and calls the one person who's seen her at her worst. Aretha? Ethan's voice is immediately concerned. What's wrong? I can't do this anymore. The words come out raw, half sob, half rage. I tried to drive and I froze again, and Simone's pregnant, and she needs me to be strong, and I can't even make it across a fucking parking lot without falling apart. Where are you? My apartment. Parking lot. I'm sitting in the car and I can't... Her breath hitches. I can't keep pretending I'm fine. Then stop. His voice is calm, grounding. Stay in the car. I'm 10 minutes away. You don't have to. I know. I'm coming anyway. He's there in 8 minutes. Aretha sees his headlights sweep across the rain-soaked lot, and then he's opening her door, crouching beside her, rain soaking through his jacket. Come on, he says gently. Let's get you out of here. She lets him guide her from the driver's seat, lets him walk her back to her apartment while rain falls around them. Inside, he disappears into her kitchen and returns with water and a blanket she doesn't remember owning. Simone's pregnant, Aretha says numbly. She told me tonight. That's big news. She needs me, and I can't even drive. She looks at him, eyes burning. How am I supposed to help her when I can't even help myself? Ethan sits beside her on the couch, not touching, but close. You help her by being honest. By not performing strength you don't have. She needs me to be strong. She needs you to be real. He turns slightly, meeting her eyes. You know what the worst part of losing my brother was? Everyone kept telling me how strong I was, how well I was handling it. And I wasn't. I was dying inside. But I kept performing strength because that's what people needed from me. Aretha wipes her eyes roughly. How did you stop? I didn't. I broke. Spectacularly. Lost a relationship. Almost lost my job. Ended up in therapy because I couldn't function. He pauses. And then I learned the difference between being strong and pretending to be. What's the difference? Pretending is carrying everything alone until it crushes you. Being strong is knowing when to let someone else carry some of it. He reaches over, tentative, and covers her hand with his. Let me carry some of it, just for tonight. She looks down at their hands, his scarred from broken glass, hers from trying to hold too much. And something in her chest cracks open. I don't know how, she whispers. Start small. Let me make you tea. Let me sit here while you breathe. Let tomorrow be tomorrow's problem. So she does. She lets Ethan make tea in her kitchen, lets him sit with her while the rain falls and her breathing steadies, lets herself exist in the space between breaking and healing. And for the first time since Sunday night, she stops fighting. Danny corners Ethan 3 days later during their lunch break, leaning against the work van with arms crossed and expression knowing. So, Danny says, you gonna tell me about her? Ethan doesn't look up from the inventory sheet he's checking. About who? The woman you've been driving around for 2 weeks. The one you dropped everything for Tuesday night. Danny grins. Come on, man. You like her. She needed help. You help a lot of people. You don't usually look at them like that. Ethan sets down the clipboard. Like what? Like you'd dive into another sinking car without thinking twice. Danny's grin softens into something more serious. I'm not judging. I'm just making sure you're not doing the thing again. What thing? The thing where you find someone who needs saving and lose yourself trying to fix them. Danny meets his eyes. Remember Kara? How that ended. Ethan does. Kara, who had addiction issues and family trauma and needed someone stable. He'd tried to be that person. Had run himself into the ground trying to be enough. Until she left anyway. And he was alone with the wreckage of himself. This isn't that, Ethan says. You sure? He thinks about Aretha, the way she fights to maintain independence, the way she apologizes for needing help, the way she's slowly learning to let him in without erasing herself. Yeah, I'm sure. Okay. Danny claps him on the shoulder. Just checking. Because you deserve someone who shows up for you too. The conversation sticks with Ethan for the rest of the day. That night, he texts Aretha. Ethan. You free this weekend? Aretha. Depends. What did you have in mind? Ethan. Exposure therapy. My way. Trust me. Aretha. I'm starting to. Saturday morning, he picks her up at dawn. She climbs into the van looking wary and exhausted. Where are we going? She asks. Empty parking lot on the east side. No traffic, no pressure. Just you and a steering wheel. She goes very still. Ethan, you don't have to drive today, he says, pulling onto the freeway. You just have to sit in the driver's seat while it rains. Prove to yourself you're safe. That's it. The parking lot belongs to an abandoned big box store. Massive, empty, surrounded by chain link fence. Ethan parks near the center, far from anything that could feel confining. You ready? He asks. No. Good. Let's go anyway. They switch seats. Aretha grips the steering wheel with white-knuckled hands. The sky is overcast, rain forecasted within the hour. Ethan sits in the passenger seat, calm and patient. Start the engine, he says. She does. The van rumbles to life. Now just sit here. Feel the wheel under your hands. Listen to the engine. You're in control. I don't feel in control. You are anyway. You decide when to move, when to stop, when to walk away. This is your choice. They sit like that for 10 minutes, then 15. At 20 minutes, rain starts. Light at first, then steady. Aretha's breathing goes shallow. Her grip tightens. I can't. You can sit here. You don't have to drive. Just exist in this space while it rains. It sounds like... I know. But you're not in that car anymore. You're here. With me. And the door's open. Watch. He reaches over and pushes his door open. Rain spatters the interior. He closes it again. See? Not trapped. She closes her eyes, focusing on breathing. 4 counts in, hold. 6 counts out. The rain pounds the roof. Her body screams at her to run. But she stays. 5 minutes. 10. 20. When she finally opens her eyes, the rain is still falling. She's still in the driver's seat, and she's still breathing. I didn't drive, she says. You didn't run, Ethan counters. That's everything. They sit until the rain stops. When they switch seats again, Aretha's hands are still shaking, but something in her expression has shifted. Thank you, she says quietly. For what? For not making me do more than I could handle. For just being here. Ethan starts the van and heads back toward the city. That's what showing up looks like. 4 days later, Aretha gets in her rental car alone. Turns the key. Rain starts. She drives 3 blocks before pulling over, shaking and triumphant. She texts Ethan a photo of the odometer. 3.2 miles. His response is immediate. That's everything. Marcus calls Aretha into his office on a Thursday afternoon, and she knows before she sits down that this conversation isn't good. Close the door, he says. She does. He gestures to the chair across from his desk, the one usually reserved for disciplinary meetings and performance reviews. I'll be direct, Marcus says, leaning back. Your work this month has been solid, but you've been off, late a few times, distracted, and Rivera mentioned you left in the middle of a shift 2 weeks ago. I had a panic attack, Aretha says, deciding honesty is faster than excuses. But I handled it. By leaving the building during work hours. For 15 minutes, and I made up the time. Marcus rubs his temples. Look, I'm not trying to be the bad guy here, but this job requires consistency. Clients depend on you. The team depends on you. I know. Do you? He leans forward. Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're struggling, and I can't afford to have my best coordinator running on fumes. The assessment lands like a blow. Accurate and brutal. Aretha meets his eyes. Are you letting me go? No, but I'm strongly suggesting you take a few days. Figure out what you need. Come back when you're actually ready. She should argue, should insist she's fine. But the exhaustion is bone deep, and pretending takes energy she doesn't have. Fine, she says. I'll take the rest of the week. Marcus nods, relieved. Good. Because I need you functional, Williams, not just present. She leaves his office feeling hollowed out. 3 days off. Unpaid, probably, though Marcus was too polite to say so. She makes it to the parking lot before the weight of it crashes down. Her phone rings. Ethan. Hey. His voice is warm, familiar. How's your afternoon? I just got benched at work. She leans against the rental car, staring at the sky. Marcus thinks I'm falling apart. Are you? Probably. She laughs, bitter. I drove 3 blocks last week and thought that meant I was better. But I'm not. I'm just slightly less broken. That's still progress. It doesn't feel like progress. It feels like failing in slow motion. Ethan is quiet for a moment. Where are you? Work parking lot. Give me 20 minutes. He shows up in 18, van idling beside her rental. Get in. Ethan, just get in. She does. He drives without explaining, taking side streets toward the industrial district, until they reach a building she vaguely recognizes, the rec center where he mentioned coaching youth basketball on weekends. Why are we here? She asks. Because you need to see something. He leads her inside to the gym, where a dozen kids between 10 and 14 are running drills. One of them spots Ethan and yells, "Coach!" Ethan waves. "Keep going. I'll be there in a minute." He turns to Aretha. That kid, number 7? His name is Marcus, different Marcus. 8 months ago, his dad died. Car accident. He stopped talking for weeks. Stopped coming to practice. When he finally came back, he couldn't make a single free throw. Hands shook too much. Aretha watches the kid sink a basket, smooth and confident. What changed? She asks. Nothing dramatic. He kept showing up. Missed more shots than he made for months. But he kept showing up, and eventually his hands stopped shaking. Ethan meets her eyes. You think he was failing in slow motion? Or learning how to exist in a world that felt different? She doesn't answer. Can't. Progress isn't linear, Ethan continues. It's messy. Some days you drive 3 blocks. Some days you can't get out of bed. Both are part of healing. Marcus, my boss, doesn't see it that way. Then maybe he's wrong. Or maybe you need space to heal without performing competence. He touches her elbow gently. You're not failing. You're rebuilding. And that's harder. Aretha watches the kids practice. Falling, recovering, trying again. None of them look defeated. They just look human. I don't know how to not be the person who has it together, she admits. So learn. Start by telling Simone the truth. That you're struggling. That you need her to be strong for you sometimes. She's pregnant. She needs me. She needs you honest. More than she needs you perfect. The simplicity of it, the permission to be insufficient, cracks something open. Aretha wipes her eyes quickly. Thank you, she says, for reminding me I'm not just my productivity. You never were. Ethan squeezes her shoulder. Come on. I'll buy you terrible diner coffee and we'll figure out what honest looks like. They leave the rec center, and for the first time since the accident, Aretha lets herself imagine a version of strength that includes falling apart. Simone shows up at Aretha's apartment unannounced on Friday night, grocery bags in hand and determination written across her face. We're talking, she announces, brushing past Aretha into the kitchen. No deflecting. No, I'm fine. Just talking. Aretha closes the door. Did Marcus call you? No, but you've been dodging my calls for 3 days, and I know that means you're spiraling. Simone starts unpacking groceries, ingredients for their mother's jambalaya recipe, the one they only make for serious conversations. So I'm making dinner, and you're going to tell me what's actually happening. There's no point arguing. Aretha sits at the counter, while Simone moves through her kitchen with familiar efficiency, chopping vegetables and browning sausage, while the silence stretches between them. I got sent home from work, Aretha says finally. Marcus thinks I'm not handling things. Simone's knife pauses mid-chop. Are you? No. The admission feels like stepping off a ledge. I'm not. I can barely drive in the rain. I have panic attacks over thunder. And everyone keeps needing me to be strong when I'm barely holding myself together. Simone sets down the knife and turns to face her. Everyone meaning me. You're pregnant. I need my sister to be honest with me. Simone's voice is firm. Not some perfect version who pretends she's fine. I need you, the real you, even if she's struggling. Aretha's throat tightens. I don't know how to be that person around you. Why not? Because I've been taking care of you since Mom and Dad died. That's who I am. If I'm not that, then what am I? Simone crosses the kitchen and pulls Aretha into a hug, tight and fierce. You're my sister. That's enough. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be here. Aretha lets herself be held, and something she's been carrying for years finally loosens. When they pull apart, both of them have wet eyes. I almost died, Aretha says quietly. In that car. I really thought that was it. I know. Simone's voice cracks. And when you didn't tell me right away, I was furious. Because I need to know when you're in trouble. I need to be able to show up for you the way you always show up for me. I didn't want to worry you. Too late, I worry about you constantly. Because you carry everything alone and I hate it. Simone wipes her eyes roughly. So from now on, we carry it together. Deal? Deal. They finish making dinner side by side, falling into the rhythm they've had since childhood. While the jambalaya simmers, Simone asks the question Aretha's been avoiding. This guy, Ethan, you're falling for him. It's not a question. Aretha doesn't bother denying it. Maybe. That terrifies you. Completely. Because? Because needing him feels like losing control, like admitting I can't do it alone. Aretha stirs the pot, watching steam rise. And after the accident, I already feel out of control. If I let myself need him and he leaves, then you survive. The way you survived Mom and Dad. The way you survived Sunday night. Simone bumps her shoulder gently. You're stronger than you think. But strength doesn't mean doing it alone. Aretha lets the words settle. They eat dinner on the couch, talking about Simone's pregnancy fears and doctor appointments, and the 1,000 small ways life keeps moving forward. When Simone finally leaves, she hugs Aretha one more time. I'm proud of you, Simone says. For being honest, for letting people in. That takes guts. After she's gone, Aretha picks up her phone and texts Ethan. Aretha, I told Simone everything. The panic attacks, the work situation, all of it. Ethan, how'd she take it? Aretha, better than I expected. She said we're carrying it together now. Ethan, smart woman. Aretha, she also said I'm falling for you. 3 dots appear, disappear, appear again. Ethan, and are you? Aretha stares at the question. She could deflect, could lie, but she's done pretending. Aretha, yeah, I think I am. Ethan, good, because I'm already there. She reads the message 3 times, something warm and terrifying blooming in her chest. For the first time since the accident, the future doesn't feel like drowning. It feels like possibility. The next attempt happens 2 weeks later. Aretha wakes to rain, light, steady, the kind that lasts all day. She lies in bed listening to it, testing her body's response. Her heart rate stays calm. Her breathing stays even. She gets up, makes coffee, checks her phone. Ethan, rain today, you okay? Aretha, getting there. Ethan, proud of you. She smiles at the screen, then sets it down. The rental car keys sit on the counter where they've lived for 3 weeks. She picks them up. The parking lot is wet but not flooded. She approaches the car slowly, deliberately. Gets in. Adjusts the seat. Checks the mirrors. Turns the key. The engine starts. Rain patters on the windshield. She counts her breaths. 4 in, hold, 6 out, and puts the car in drive. Her hands don't shake. Her vision doesn't tunnel. She eases off the brake and moves forward. 1 block. 2. At 3, she pulls over. Not from panic, but from triumph. She texts Ethan the photo. Odometer reading. 3.2 miles. His response is immediate. That's everything. She sits in the car for another 5 minutes, rain falling around her, and lets herself feel it, the victory, small but real. She drove, in the rain, alone. It's not healed, but it's progress. Spring arrives slowly, thawing the city 1 degree at a time. Aretha returns to work with new boundaries, reasonable hours, honest communication with Marcus, and a promise to herself that asking for help isn't failure. Marcus adjusts. The clients adapt. The world doesn't end. Simone's belly grows, and Aretha shows up for doctor appointments without pretending to have all the answers. They learn to lean on each other, trading strength when the other runs low. Mrs. Park remains distant but civil, a work in progress Ethan navigates with patience. Aretha doesn't push for approval she may never get. And Ethan shows up. Not as a savior, as a partner. They have coffee on Tuesday mornings and late dinners after hard days. They argue about movies and routes through the city, and whether mint chocolate chip is an acceptable ice cream flavor. He teaches her to change a tire. She teaches him to make jambalaya. On a Saturday in April, they drive out to the abandoned parking lot, where she first sat in the rain without running. This time, Aretha drives. How does it feel? Ethan asks when they park. Different. She looks at the rain falling on the windshield. Steady, harmless. I used to think rain meant danger. Now it just means rain. That's growth. Yeah. She turns to him. Can I tell you something? Always. I spent so long being terrified of needing people. I thought independence meant doing everything alone. But you taught me that letting someone help isn't weakness. It's trust. Ethan reaches over and takes her hand. And you taught me that helping someone doesn't mean carrying them. It means walking beside them. She leans across the console and kisses him, soft, certain, a promise neither of them can name yet, but both feel building. When they pull apart, Ethan is smiling. So what now? Now we keep showing up, for each other. No rescues, just partnership. I can do that. Me too. They sit in the rain for a while longer, hands linked, watching the storm pass. It's not dramatic, it's not perfect, but it's real. And for the first time since one wrong turn sent her into dark water, Aretha isn't afraid of drowning. She's learned to swim. 6 months after one wrong turn nearly ended everything, Aretha Williams stands in the rain by choice. The parking lot of the rec center is empty except for Ethan's van and the rental car she finally returned last week, replaced by one she bought herself, with working locks and a glass breaker mounted on the keychain. The sky is bruised purple with storm clouds, and thunder rumbles somewhere distant, but her pulse stays steady. She's waiting for Ethan to finish coaching, watching through the gym windows as he demonstrates a layup to a group of kids who look at him like he hung the moon. One of them, Marcus, the boy who lost his father, makes the shot and pumps his fist in triumph. Ethan claps him on the shoulder, pride written across his face, and Aretha feels something warm and certain settle in her chest. This is what saving actually looks like. Not dramatic rescues, just showing up, day after day, through rain and panic and the messy, unglamorous work of healing. The gym doors open and Ethan jogs out, jacket pulled over his head against the rain. He spots her and grins, surprised, delighted. "You're getting soaked," he says, reaching her. "I know." She tilts her face up, letting rain run down her cheeks. "It's cold and clean and just water, nothing more. I wanted to see if I could." "And?" "Turns out I can." She takes his hand, lacing their fingers together. "I wanted to thank you. For that night. For every night after. For teaching me that needing someone doesn't make me weak." Ethan pulls her closer, rain soaking through both their clothes. "You taught me something too." "What's that?" "That loving someone isn't about fixing them. It's about standing beside them while they fix themselves." His eyes are serious, warm, certain. "You saved yourself, Aretha." "I just broke the glass." She thinks about the woman who went into that water 6 months ago. Terrified, alone, convinced that asking for help meant failure. That woman drowned. But someone else emerged. Someone who learned that strength isn't carrying everything alone. It's knowing when to reach for the hand being offered. "I love you," she says, the words easy and true. "Not because you saved me, because you stayed. I love you too." He kisses her forehead, gentle and grounding. "And I'm not going anywhere." Thunder cracks overhead, and Aretha doesn't flinch. She just stands in the rain with the man who taught her that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let someone see you drowning, and trust them enough to grab the hand reaching through the broken glass. Because survival isn't about never needing rescue. It's about building a life with people who show up when the water rises, who sit with you in stairwells during panic attacks, who drive you to work when you can't drive yourself, who love you through the mess of becoming whole again. It's about learning that the strongest thing she ever did wasn't surviving the sinking car alone. It was letting Ethan pull her out, and then choosing, every single day after, to keep reaching back. The rain falls harder. They stand in it together, hands linked, both of them soaked and smiling. And when they finally run for the van, laughing and breathless, Aretha realizes she's not afraid anymore. Not of water, not of storms, not of needing someone. She's just alive, fully, messily, beautifully alive. And that's everything. And